or Danny Philippidis, they found him at the Sacramento International Airport. Now, when they found him, he had a new iPhone, a new haircut, and very little memory of how he got there. Philippidis told deputies at the airport that he had traversed nearly 3,000 miles from upstate New York to Sacramento, California. He says he remembered very little, but that he recalled skiing and thought that he had suffered a head injury. Now again, he says he'd forgotten how he actually got to Sacramento, other than some vague memory of being in the back of a big rig truck. He doesn't know when he got into the truck. He doesn't know who the man was, where the truck was going. He knows nothing. Now, many of you in the comments on my first video alluded to the fact that the authorities should simply check his phone, because if he had his phone on him, they can track that data along with any movements that he made precisely. And well, just as you would think in a strange story like this, the man did not have his phone. In fact, between his travels from New York to Sacramento, Philippidis bought a brand new iPhone, he told deputies, which he then used to call his wife once he reached California, after having been dropped off supposedly by this big rig style truck, where he then also got a haircut. It's said that Mr. Philippidis had moments of lucidity while he was with the deputies. And may I remind you guys again, he was found alone, disoriented. He had no memory, or barely any memory. He had no ID, no phone, no vehicle, still dressed in his ski pants, ski jacket, boots, and helmet. And let's talk about this so-called big rig truck that supposedly picked him up. Now, how is it possible that he managed to find such a truck, given the location where he went missing, and in such a bad condition, supposedly with a head injury? Now, if you were a truck driver and you find a man in that situation stumbling down the road in ski clothes, then you drive him all the way to California and just drop him off without asking him what had happened or bringing him to the hospital or the police? I mean, this story reeks. I mean, I just have to say, this does not smell right. Another thing is that how many missing persons cases have you guys heard of where the Department of Homeland Security gets involved, as was in this very case? That doesn't make sense to me. But let's hear from some of the other people from my first video, some people who commented on what they thought of this story. One user wrote, quote, "All they have to do is check his cell phone telemetry. That would show the exact path that he took to get there. If a cell phone moves beyond the laws of physics, i.e. airplane speed, I would bet $1 million it would automatically trigger Homeland Security." But again, he didn't have a phone. He bought a phone on his travel to Sacramento, or after he got there.
Interesting. 1.3 million followers, and Naughty Beaver somehow manages to inject himself into the conversation. Wonder how he does that. Let's see what Spock had to say.
An ancestor of mine maintained that if you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
The police say that he bought a phone, called his wife, apparently remembering her number with no memory. Let's eliminate the impossible. If you had no money and no wallet, could not buy a phone. When you go skiing, chances are you will not have any cash on you, no wallet, maybe your cell phone, in case of emergency. It makes sense. Nobody's going to have a wallet to land on when they fall on their ass. Now what's interesting, and this is what I made the point on Secure Team 10's show, he never did buy a phone. He had his original. Your phone, a permanent home and beacon to your existence. The government knows everything you do, everywhere you go, what speed you're heading at. What I said in his show makes a lot of sense. It's very, very probable that if he was in fact teleported in any fashion, he would be moving faster than the laws of physics would allow. The cell phone can still be tracked at that speed because the towers are constantly giving your position. That is what would have alerted Homeland Security in the first place. The man never committed any crime. There's no reason for them to be there. If the towers picked up something moving at an incredible, impossible velocity, where a phone was here and it reappeared there, the government would know about it instantly. This is why this case has got so much appeal, I will guarantee it. You cannot buy a phone if you do not have money in a wallet. It is a cover story. And I hope that it's one that CBC investigates. I've emailed them. And I'm probably going to try and track this guy on social media when he gets his pieces back together. Because this is a portent of things to come. The fabric of our reality is beginning to break down. The how and why is something that when I get a better understanding, I might be able to give you a better understanding, but it is no mere coincidence. If you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. This is something that the truth-seeking community is going to have to vehemently persevere. We have no choice. We cannot leave any stone unturned. A case like this is unique. And I don't believe for a second this was a drinking thing. Everything about the story identifies with the skier, right? Except for the phone. The government and the government alone, Canadian government, American and otherwise, if they're tracking that phone, they will know what happened. And that's the truth that the public needs to know. It's one little situation in itself. The problem is that Homeland Security or governments would never release this kind of information because it's kind of a dead giveaway that they track you every moment of your life, which only a fool would believe that they don't. This is the whole idea of engineering cheap cell phones in the first place. Keep tabs on your asses. It's cool. It's a cool coincidence. I really like to see how this plays out. No point speculating on it for now. Secure Team did a great job checking it out, as he always does. A young lad in the truth-seeking community. Life gets weirder. Thanks for... There's one last thing that I want to say about the bigger picture of what's happening. If you look back through Scripture, where Jesus had said there's nothing new under the sun. If you start to believe in the concept of the multiverse, parallel universes, where you exist in infinite varieties, infinite scenarios, infinite possibilities, that every possible outcome from every decision or seemingly logical choice you've ever made of free will has already occurred. If you look at the scenario of the skier and look at every possible outcome from every time in every universe that he has ever gone on that skiing trip, theoretically, at one point in time, he may have deviated from that trip, gone and got a haircut, and headed to Sacramento. It's possible that that man was about to die on that skiing trip, smashing into a tree, killing himself, just like Sonny Bono. That somehow, some way, that moment in time, that precise moment in time of death, has been changed to an alternate reality. In that reality, somehow he did have a wallet, ID, however the story went, that he did in fact end up there. It is possible. Eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. This is what I want to spell out for people, that you have to expand the mind to the possibilities. Even Jesus said it himself, there is nothing new under the sun. Paradoxically, everything has already happened. It's up to God to choose how it plays out. Food for thought. Naughty Beaver out.